Hi guys, here it is, finally a stretching video. Today's video is going to be a stretching routine that I do on a daily basis. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and for me it stretches all my basic muscle groups, keeps them loose and flexible, which is just what I need for ballet class. So, for the sake of keeping this video short, I'm not going to hold each stretch for a full count that I normally would, but a good amount of time is anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, depending on what you're doing. As with most stretches, you do want to warm up before you begin. You don't have to, but it really makes your stretching more efficient and more worth your time, so even just doing a few pliés, some jumping jacks, or even make a point to plan your exercise so you have time to stretch afterwards, because stretching after like 20 minutes of walking or running is really great, because then your muscles are nice and warm. So real quickly, before I get started, you'll notice that I am here in my lovely living room, which has carpet. Yes, so why is carpet good? I love carpet because a lot of the stretches require us to rest on our joints, like our knees or our ankles on the floor or whatnot. So it really sucks when you're doing a stretch and all you can think about is how much your knees hurt because they're like grinding into the floor. So carpet, or get yourself a yoga mat. Also, wearing socks or tights or something on your feet so they're not grabbing onto the floor makes it a lot easier to slide into your stretches. So the first thing that I usually do, and I usually do this in the morning as I'm making breakfast or something, actually when I first get up, because my shoulders tense up quite a bit when I sleep for some reason, is just clasp my hands behind my back, really relax my shoulders, do some head circles. You'll get the most out of your stretching when your body is relaxed, so I just like to release some of the tension that I might be holding in my upper body before I even get started. I like to stretch up and over to the side, feel this down here, and then feel a stretch change to my upper back. I'm not doing a flat back, I'm still keeping this around and then stretching out my upper back as I curve around to the front. This usually even pops my back. And I repeat on the other side. So you do want to make sure that your muscles are warm before you stretch. It's easiest to do after your daily exercise, whether it might be a walk or a run or after you hit the gym or whatnot. But if you don't have time and you just need to quickly get your muscles warmed up, I usually do something like this, just some pliés with some arm swings. You can do about 25 of these. Maybe even throw a releve in there. Also, these are really great for warming up your hips. Go side to side and try to go lower. So stretching does have some sort of a strategy to it. I like to start by using stretches that focus on the hips and the butt and whatever, just to get these joints loose, so that other stretches that involve those joints I can kind of go deeper into and get a more efficient stretch, since these are already stretched out and warmed up. So first I have to start off doing this little froggy guy. And when you start off, if you're new to stretching, you might start out like this, and that's okay. Everyone starts like this, and as you stretch and as you get looser, you'll be able to push your knees down with your feet in. And then once you get those down, you get more of a stretch by leaning over. I just grab my ankles and then use my elbows to push my knees down to get more of a stretch. Or you can just put your hands on your knees here as well. Then I'll move my heels out a little bit. And now this will really, again, stretch your booty, but this will also start to stretch your turnout as well. So here's where I like to grab my ankles, use my elbows, push my knees down as I stretch. Don't forget to breathe. Think about relaxing the muscles that you feel being stretched. Feel them lengthen. And if you want to extend this stretch, this one feels kind of weird, but it's the same thing. Try to push those knees down and lean over. Really feel that all up in your hips. And from here, I like to go straight into a little pike stretch here. Now, when you first start, just sitting up straight might be a stretch for you, and even I can feel it too. It's hard to sit up straight in this position because your legs are kind of fighting you, but try to keep that curve of your back there And then as you stretch over, you can wiggle like this a little bit. Kind of like get your booty to stick out and feel those muscles lengthen as you reach over. Breathe out. And then pull yourself down for more of a stretch. Then from here, I like to move into my straddle. With a straddle, you might want to start with your legs not as far apart and focus on being able to sit up straight and then lean over and stretch. As you get more flexible, you want to, of course, open your hips up as much as possible. So sometimes I will pull myself up and settle down. You can really, really feel that right up here, your very upper inner thigh. I like to do the lean over and the lean over and the lean towards and the lean towards. And then, of course, straight down the middle. As you work into this stretch, you can use your hands to lift your hips off the floor and walk yourself forward until you are stretching your middle split. So you kind of want your hips to line up, make a straight line from foot to foot, and then try to get your hips down to the floor. Next, I like to start my front split stretching sequence. And a quick word about pointing your toes when you stretch. I know when you're in class, your teachers will probably really get on you for pointing your toes, which by all means, you do what your teacher says and it looks really nice. But I find that when I point my foot, it requires me to tense up my leg. So then I feel as if I'm fighting the stretch more and it just doesn't make too much sense to me. So when you're home and no one's looking at your foot, you don't have to point it. I don't think that's super important, but you probably do want to do it in class. So I do this on either side, and this is to really focus on increasing flexibility for your splits as well as for your arabesque. So as you know, when you're doing your arabesque, you have to be able to be really loose to the front of your hip to be able to turn out and then let this leg go up, and then of course to have a strong and flexible back. But anyway, so I start with a lunge. And I like to do kind of an exaggerated lunge. So sometimes when you're stretching, they say not to let this leg, your knee go over your foot like this. But this way I find I can really relax into it, and you're focusing on your back leg here. So I'm focusing on my right leg. And I'm just letting the weight rest on my knee and on my foot. I'm trying to relax this muscle, these muscles all through here in this whole section. And you can kind of twist around. You can turn in and really feel that on the front, or you can turn out. Just really work into that stretch however you can. And again, you want to hold each of these for at least 30 seconds, but I don't know if it's bad to hold stretches for a really long time, because sometimes I'll stretch for at least an hour if I'm watching TV. If I get really hooked on a new anime show or something, or What Not to Wear. Netflix finally has some What Not to Wear seasons. I love those. So those are 40 minutes a piece. I might watch like 2 episodes and just stretch. It's great. Okay, so after you get this guy really loosened up, you're going to reach around and focus on stretching out your quad. So again, this will loosen this area here and here. So you just reach around. So the more of an intense lunge you're in, the more of a stretch this will be. So if this is too hard, you can straighten up a little bit like this. If this is too tight here, and as you get more flexible, and if this doesn't offer you any more stretch, then you go down further and further like this to get more of a stretch in that area. After that, I straighten up and focus on my front leg, and I just bend over, get a nice stretch. You feel it all in the back of your leg here. Okay, and then comes the fun part. You slide down into those splits. The stages of getting your splits, you might be here. That's totally okay. And as you slide down, you want to try to keep your hips sort of straight, okay? So of course, if you want to sit down and you stretch, you kind of let your hips go. You see what I did there? See how now I'm kind of facing this direction instead of facing towards the leg like I should be? So this is a lot easier to do. When you try and turn and get your hips back like this, it's a lot more difficult because you immediately kind of have to tense up those tendons and things. This is why I like to try to get my hips loose before we start working on the splits. So see now, and then of course you can just still try to keep your back leg turned up. So see the difference between this and this? It's quite a bit harder, I find. Right, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, starting with a lunge. When you're done there, reach around, stretch out that quad, then pull back, stretch your front leg, and you will slide down into your splits. This is my less flexible side, as you can see. Trying to maintain proper alignment. If I let it go, I can get kind of down into the splits more, see? But now my hips aren't really facing the way they should be. Although sometimes it's nice, if you want to kind of just, not worry too much about form and just get more of a stretch, you can kind of lean to the side. Put your hands down and lean to the side and lean into it a little more, you know what I'm saying? And then, but don't forget to also try and stretch with your hips facing more of the proper direction. Sometimes too, this back leg always looks bent, even though it feels straight, and the only way for it to straighten it, at least for me at this point, is to engage my muscles and hold it straight. So I do like to stretch it like that, but like I said before, I like to be able to stretch without really clenching my muscles too much so they can really relax. So as you can see, my leg is a little bent, but I'm definitely getting plenty of the stretch here. And I like to finish all that up with a nice little back stretch. This is a classic. Just put your feet together, push up with your hands, look back. You can lower down, stretch the top half of your back. And after you're done stretching, stick your butt up and reverse it. Let your vertebrae lengthen out. That's my stretching routine in a nutshell. It's not always exactly the same. I'll fit in other stretches. There's some great other stretches you can do, like such as this one, where you can let your body weight really kind of do the stretching for you. You can do wall stretches. You can do stretches lying down, pulling your leg up. There's also some great stretches that focus just on turnout, but I'll be doing a video on those later on. Kind of want to save those for special. Today's was just my basic all-around daily stretch that I'll do, just watching TV, reading a book, whatever's going on. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, okay? Alright. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you found it useful and helpful to you. Don't forget to follow me on the social medias. I have Twitter, I have Instagram, I've got Facebook. Check it all out in the links below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! So stretching does have some sort of a strategy to it. I like to usually start by that just scared the boob out of me. I think I'm just gonna lay down now. And this is where you can get a nice look at your stomach rolls.